My living room is kind of a confusing mess, and the time has come to try and fix it. I've lived in this flat now for 6 years, and throughout that whole time I have been seemingly unable to get this room looking right. And that's not for lack of trying. There have been attempts, there have been some successes, and there have been many failures. And this is what it's looking like now. It's kind of a higgledy-piggledy hodgepodge of all different things, and I wouldn't say that I hate it by any means. I actually think it's kind of cute. It's very lived in and homey and comfortable. I enjoy spending time in here, but it's never felt finished to me. And I don't know how many more years I'm going to be living here. And before that sad day comes that eventually I move on to the next place, I do want to see this room looking as good as I know that it can, because it really is a beautiful space. And I feel like I'm just missing the mark slightly. So that's what I'm going to be attempting to do in this and a few, I think, subsequent videos on my channel. Usually what I do when I'm planning out a room is I start by making an illustrated document, draw out the space, draw out everything in the space, and then just play around with the furniture and art and colour placements till I'm happy with how it all looks together. And I have tried on multiple occasions to do that for this room, but for some reason my brain just doesn't want to work that way when it comes to this space. I don't know if it's because it's quite big, or because it's very naturally dark in here, or because I already have a lot of furniture and other bits and bobs in the space which are clouding my vision. But whenever I try and approach a potential design plan for this room, I just end up more confused than when I started. And this has led me in the past to fixing, in inverted commas, smaller areas of the room at different times and ignoring the rest of it. And you would have seen me do this if you've watched either of the other 2 videos that I made in this room. In one I made the paper mache sideboard thing that lives over there and that I do really love, and in the other I did this whole painted wall TV rejig setup, and that now a year down the line I am less enthralled by. And I think overall these little changes that I've made have led to a slightly disjointed space that is crying out for some unity. So we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this time around. Not only have I realised that I shouldn't be focusing in on one corner of this space at a time, but also if I want to do the whole room, I don't need to put all the pressure on myself to pre-plan every part of the design right at the start of the process, because my brain doesn't want to work that way. And also I'm not imagining that this is something that I can get done in the time span of one video, because there's a lot I want to do in here and there's also a lot of things that I do not yet know. So I'm thinking I need to take a slightly more laid back and organic approach to this, making decisions as they come and not pre-planning too much. But because I do love an excuse to draw out miniature versions of my furniture and I really don't want to rob myself of that joy, I'm going to start by making a list of all of the bigger items that I already have in this space and then categorize those by what I want to keep, what I want to remove from this room, and where there is some potential for fun projects. So let's go. First up, we have my 2 wooden ladder style bookshelves. These are just fine. They are good for storage. They are non-ugly. Keep. My beautiful mid-century sideboard. This is both functional and attractive. I will be keeping forever. The paper mache storage thing that I made, which sits atop of it. This I'm going to put into the potential projects category because I think it could be transformed into something functionally similar, which looks a little bit better. This coffee table, I like that it has drawers. It is practical, a good place to keep remotes and half-finished knitting projects. So I'm going to tentatively say keep. A set of 3 vintage stacking tables. These were some of the first pieces of furniture that I bought for this flat. I got them off Marketplace during COVID and a very nice man did a doorstop drop off for me. They were a great price, they are handy, they are nice. Keep. a pretty but not particularly comfortable pink velvet armchair, which I will be keeping for the aforementioned prettiness of it. Also, I know that this doesn't have a fire label, so I wouldn't be able to donate it to a charity shop anyway. A comfortable but not particularly pretty brown sofa. I will keep this for the comfort, and also because the thought of carrying this down my stairs and carrying a new one up makes me never want to replace it. But I really don't like this grey browny fabric that it has, so I always end up draping stuff over it. At the minute it's got both a blanket and a king size duvet over the top of it, which is kind of giving student house share. So I'm going to put this in the project category because I would like to make a fun bespoke cover for it. Another item without a fire label is this blue velvet footstool, which I've had since I was a teenager and which I am irrationally emotionally attached to, though at this point it is a little bit beaten up and grubby and I think it could be improved, so we'll pop it on the project list. My homemade footstool, which does have a fire label, and I'm very proud of this, keep. A rattan chair, which never gets sat on because it's in kind of an awkward place. Why would I ever want to sit here? I don't know. This is a potential Facebook Marketplace candidate, but the cushions are staying. Oh look, there's an old pizza tray behind there. This can go to the scrap metal. The big leaning floor mirror, this was expensive and I really enjoy it both as an object and also its placement in the room because it doesn't block the stairs and it also hides an ugly pipe on the wall behind it. I will be keeping. My paper mache sideboard and homemade lamp, keep. My vintage bird lamp, keep. This globe lamp that smells like fish when it's turned on, keep, but research the fishy smell. The dollhouse lamp, keep. The pendant light. The bulb went out on this over a year ago and I never replaced it, which should show you how little value I place on the big light. Also, the shade on this is a little bit too 1970s Scandi boho IKEA for my tastes, so maybe I'll replace it unless I can think of a good way to upcycle. I'll put it into the remove category for now. This wooden folding rail, which I used to have in my hallway, and that is now jammed at one end of my sofa with a rug dangling off of it, and I don't really know why I've done that. I can sell this. And speaking of rugs, we have 4 more in this room. This mid-century abstract patterned rug from the charity shop. I love this rug and I shall be keeping it. A 1930s small little round floor rug which I got from eBay. Again, I love this rug. I will be keeping it, but maybe not in this room. I'm not sure. This big creamy shag rug, which I do enjoy as a rug. It's nice and soft and comfortable, though it has always been a little bit too big for this room. It always gets caught under my door. I also don't really love this light colour against my white wooden floors. I find that higher contrast, darker coloured rugs look better in this flat, but also big rugs are expensive, so I don't know if I want to replace it. I'd have to find a good rug at a good price, so I'm going to put it in the remove category, but this one does have a question mark. My homemade grassy rug that I made for my bedroom but moved in here after a while because Sunday kept scratching at it. It's actually one of my favourite things I've ever made, so I will of course be keeping it, but I think I just have to accept that having cats means that the things I love get scratched to hell and move it back to where it belongs, so it will be removed from this room. And lastly, the curtains. Look how short and sad they are. These have always been a temporary solution in my mind, and I actually already do have an idea for a pair of curtains that I want to make for this space, so this is going in the project category. I will be keeping the pelmet though. I'm just gonna hang it a little bit better. And of course there are the artworks and other miscellaneous bits of tat that I've got around this space, some of which will be being removed, such as the Christmas tree, which is currently giving body bag behind me. I just haven't been bothered to put this back up in the loft for the last 3 months, so I will be doing that. And the other things that are in here I will be assessing later on down the line whether or not they need to be in here. So for now, this is the plan of all of the bigger items, whether they're staying, whether they're going, whether they're being transformed, and that gives me a good starting point for making over this space. And now we can move on to the first tangible project that I can do to get this room looking nice, and that is a fresh paint job. And we are going to be painting this room pink, which I'm sure you will have seen either in the title or thumbnail of this video, so I'm not sure why I'm doing that as some sort of grand reveal. But I decided on pink because it's a warm colour, it's cozy, and I got all of these different swatches at B&Q, and the shade that I've selected is this one. It is Lick Pink number 13, which I think is really nice. I bought 5 litres of it, which is a lot, because I'm going to be painting all of the walls and the entire ceiling in this colour. I do also want to paint all of the woodwork to match as well, and I was under the impression that Lick Emulsion works on woodwork, but maybe I'm wrong because it seems like they don't anymore. So I'll probably have to get some gloss paint colour match to this at some point, but that doesn't stop me from getting going on the rest of it, which after all of that chatting, I don't know if I have time for today. So I'll see you in the morning and we can start shifting around some furniture and slapping some bloody paint up. Okay, it's actually about a week since I filmed those last clips, and in that week I have achieved nothing in this room. I had something happen in my personal life which put me into a very bursting into tears headspace, and I just haven't wanted to be on camera or do things in this room, which is looking very big and daunting to me at the minute. I am okay though, by the way. Everything is fine. My neighbour's doing some erratic banging of something, so if you can hear that in the background, please ignore. Today I really want to try and make some progress on this room. I've been trying to think about the right order to do things in because I don't have enough room elsewhere in the flat to be moving all of the furniture and stuff into. So what I'm going to be doing is shifting things to one corner of the room at a time, painting one area, then moving things again, painting another area, etc, etc. And I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself today to get loads done, so I've set myself the low bar goal to move things away from the window area, take down the curtains, and just paint this little section of the room that's in front of me. At least then I'll be able to see the colour of the paint on the wall and make sure that I don't hate it. Though even if I do, I'm not sure what I'm going to do because I bought 5 litres of it, so I'm going to have to use it at some point anyway. I was also thinking about the woodwork issue because I really don't want to have to buy more paint, and I googled whether or not I can use this emulsion on woodwork, and it says that I can if I prepare the wood and prime it. So what I think I'm going to do is just test that out in this section to make sure that it works, and then if needs be I will buy some gloss paint. The banging continues. Maybe let's pop some music on and move all of this junk out of the way. Also, I should say that this room is kind of a mess because I have been hibernating in here for the last week, but it's about to get even messier, so let's go. I unwedged this rail from behind the sofa yesterday to measure it because I think my boyfriend might have it in his flat, so I'm going to pop this one out in the hallway in the hopes that he does come and take it off my hands. There's my slippers. Soft stuff. Bloody Christmas tree. Go away. Shimmy this sofa forward. I already feel tired and I've only moved 2 things. Oh, this is cozy. This poor palm is not having a good time. This leaf is okay, but the rest of them are more or less dead. This is going in the bedroom, but for now I'm gonna chuck it there. Okay, window area is now mostly empty. Still need to take the curtains down, but I'll do that in a minute. I kind of just want to get on with the painting, honestly. I know that there's orders of things that you're supposed to do things in that makes more sense. I should have moved all the stuff out that I knew I wasn't keeping in this room, but I didn't want to. And sometimes you just got to work within your own personal limits on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to hoover and then I'm going to grab my paint, and that's what we're going to do. Actually, should I sand the skirting boards? I know that I should, but I also know that I don't want to. Okay, I will. Overalls on, gloves on, mask will be on. I did just realise that I do actually have some pink gloss paint already, which is the same pink that I used on all of my doors, which is more of like a purpley toned pink than the kind of salmony coral colour that I'm putting on the walls. And I'm wondering whether a mix of pinks might be passable. I don't know whether it'll be nice, just to stop me having to buy another tin of gloss. I'm not sure. I'm just going to quickly sand the skirting so that at least it's done in this area. Can't be bothered to use the electric sander. It's too noisy for me today. So I'm basically just gonna really quickly key it with some regular sandpaper. Sometimes I do a job and I think, oh, that was really well done. And sometimes I do a job and I think that'll do. And this is a that'll do type day, just to force me into actually doing something in here. That'll do. I'll do the rest of this section, then hoover up the mess again, and then come back to you. That was possibly the lowest effort sanding I've ever done, but I did do something. So I'm gonna say well done to me. Also, look at all this mess I've made behind me. The manner in which I'm doing this is stressing me out a little bit. I just want to paint. That's such a crime. I do also need to sand the fucking window frame, and I need to take the curtains down. So that I will do next. Ugh. Let's just throw those there, shall we? I'm not really sure what to do about this curtain track because I put it up when I first moved in, but in all honesty, I didn't do a very good job with it. It was one of those ones that you've got to bend yourself. This is a half bay window, so it's not a regular type of window. And when I bent it, I did it in such a way that the curtain always gets stuck at the bend and you can't pull it easily all the way along. And in an ideal world, I would have a pole up there, not a track. So I am wondering whether I take it down, which I would also need to do to be able to paint the window frame. So maybe that is the decision made anyway. I also lost the end piece on this side, so I've just been using an elastic band to keep the curtain from falling off, which is kind of just a classic Emily Bodge job. Would be nice if that wasn't there. This is the trouble with DIY. You want to do one little thing. I just want to do a bit of painting today to make myself feel better, and I have to do 50 things first before I can even start. But can I be asked to do it now? Does it stay or does it go? Okay, minor change of plan. I have been staring at that curtain track the last 5 minutes, surrounded by all of this mess, trying to decide whether or not to take it down, but knowing that I had to, but knowing that there wasn't anywhere for me to put it because, like I said, I'm surrounded by loads of mess. And I know what I said earlier about doing things bit by bit and that was going to be easier for me, but in reality it's not easier for me because it's making my brain feel really messy. So I think I need to actually organise the stuff in here first, move some stuff out of the way, take things off shelves so that they don't get all dusty when I start sanding, and then I will be back and we can carry on. It's about an hour later and I have been very busy moving stuff around. Everything is now much more organised. I've obviously kept all of the big furniture pieces in this room, but I've moved all of the little stuff out into other areas of the flat. So the chaos is spreading, but I guess that's a necessary evil. And I did say that we were going to start off the painting over by the window. I've now filled that area with assorted junk. So we're shifting focus and instead we're going to be starting here at the fireplace. And I think what I've realised I need to do is just test out the wall paint on the woodwork. So I'm going to slap a little bit up on the wall, check that I like the colour, slap a little bit up on the wood, check that it doesn't peel off. And then there's one bit of painting that I can do that I know will be staying today, and that is to repaint the metal part of the fireplace itself in this black paint because it is a little bit of a stake. Since I moved in here, I have unfortunately had to mostly keep this fireplace blocked off, and there's been an assortment of things covering this up over the years, but for the last couple of years it's been this blackboard with a sad face drawn on it. And the reason for that is because there is a big hole in the back of this fireplace. It's all full of like grit and sand and stuff, which is interesting, and I have been very paranoid that my cat is going to scramble in there and get stuck in the chimney. But it is a real shame to keep it covered because it is a beautiful original Victorian fireplace with these gorgeous floral tiles on it, and it's occurred to me that I don't necessarily need to keep it fully covered all the time. As long as this back piece with the actual hole in is covered, I can have these tiles out on show. So I'm thinking what I'll do is find a piece of art or something that fits nicely inside this grate and goes up to cover that hole like that, and then we'll have the best of both worlds. First things first, I'm going to give this a quick sand, ready for our test section of the emulsion. I'm going to give this a quick clean and tape off our lovely tiles, and then we can get going with this paint. I also do want to show you, this is the size of the box that the paint tin came in, basically the exact size of the tin inside of that, and then this box was inside of this massive box, and I don't know why, because this one obviously has paint in it. It has these things that show that it's got to be this way up, but because they put it in a massive box, it was upside down inside of this box with no padding. Screwfix, you need to sort yourself out. At least I've got lots of cardboard for future paper mache projects. So silver linings here is our paint. Let's get this open. Ooh. Ooh, that's extreme. Wow, dramatic paint opening. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, it's really nice. That's a lovely colour. Forgot I need my stirring stick. Be right back. This guy's seen a lot of action. It's caked on. She's thick. Now this is open, I know I'm going to want to do more painting with this. So this is a chaotic first day of DIY. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going to see where the afternoon takes me. Let's just do a little stroke and see how it looks, shall we? Good coverage. It is a little bit on the dark side, but I'm assuming that it will dry differently. Also, I have just kind of accepted that this room is dark anyway, and by painting all of it, I'm attempting to lean into that fact rather than fight it, because with it all having been painted white, it looks like it wants to be a bright room, but it just still isn't. So this will hopefully make it a cozy room. Goes on a lot thinner on the wood. I'll leave these two to dry and then we can assess once they are. Quick update on this. It feels absolutely fine. It's adhered perfectly just with a little bit of light sanding. It said online to use a wood primer. Obviously this wood has already been primed and painted in the past, so I didn't really see the point of putting another coat of that on top. And I think we're going to get away with using this paint on the woodwork, which is a big relief and saves me quite a bit of money. Now onto the black. We have our little tin here, the same one I used on my bedroom fireplace, and yeah, my memory is correct. This paint fucking stinks, but it does go on well, so needs must. I'm going to be using a really small paintbrush because there's a lot of indents and detail on this metal work and I want to be able to really get the paint in there. So let's get to painting. This is what I've been waiting for, a sit down painting job that I can just zone into and not think about other things. I very nearly gave up on doing anything today when I couldn't make a decision about that curtain rail, but I knew that I would feel crappy if I did that. Even if moving things around and painting this black is the only thing I achieved today, I will have at least gotten started on it. And quite often I find that the hardest step on anything is the first step, especially if you're trying to break yourself out of something of a funk. Once I've painted this, I'll have a tangible thing I can look at and say, hey, that looked better than it did before. Also, now I've moved all my furniture and stuff, I'm going to be forced to do this room because everything is a chaotic mess. I woke up today feeling really good, partly because I had a very nice sleep last night following doing a bit more tidying around the flat, having a lovely hot shower and doing kind of a hack job on my fringe, the remnants of which are currently on the floor over there, and I will be hoovering those up momentarily. But I also woke up feeling good because I cannot wait to jump back into this project. Now I've actually made a start on it. The whole thing is feeling a lot less daunting and I'm actually really excited to take the steps to get this space transformed. First off, let me show you my beautiful freshly painted fireplace. It's looking so much better with that fresh coat of the black paint. It's looking clean and finished, and I can't quite believe that I had the whole thing covered up for so long. Now I can peel the tape off the tiles and that whole thing is done. My goal for today is to get a first coat of our pink paint up in this side of the room. So I'm going to start out by moving these last few bits of furniture and also emptying out my linen cupboard. I'm sure you're wondering what this big murky stain on this wall is, and I can tell you that I'm not quite sure. When I first moved in, that kind of rectangle that you can see now was painted with a black tar-like paint, which I don't know if that was like for damp or something. I asked a builder at the time and he also wasn't sure what it was, so I just stain blocked it, primed it and painted over it with the white, and over time it's kind of bled through and now looks gross like that. And I could try and investigate that more in this video, only I don't know that I care too much because the painting that I just moved out is going to be going back up on this mantelpiece, so I'm just going to paint over it with the pink and then put the painting back up, and that may be a half a job, but that's kind of how I roll. Right, let's move this bookcase. Where shall I put this? Maybe I'll just shove it in the hallway for now. It does have puzzles and games in this bottom thing, but it's light enough to move, so I'm just gonna shimmy it. Ugh. Now the big mirror, which I'm just going to move around that corner a little bit. Every time I move this mirror, I am paranoid that it's going to smash, which is why I'm not going to move it far. Now the linen cupboard, I'm just going to empty this out and decant the contents into IKEA bags. Okay, done. It's actually kind of frightening when you see how much stuff fits in one cupboard. I've scattered it all between my bedroom, art room, and some on those shelves as well. Also, I just realized that I never painted the floorboards in here. So that's one thing that I would like to do in this video as well. Right, last thing to move is this box on the top shelf, which is just a box full of memory type things. Take that down, shove it somewhere, just out there in the hallways, a good a place as any. Now I'm gonna sand all of the woodworky bits. So fireplace, cupboard door, cupboard shelves, skirting, skirting, skirting. And as with yesterday, I am not going to do a particularly good job. I'm just gonna key it roughly. That is all I care to do. I think that'll do. Now I can hoover and then we can paint. Prep work done. Let's crack this pink paint open again. I've got two size brushes, a bigger one and a smaller one for edges. I'm gonna do at least most of this with a brush. I was talking to my friend on the phone the other day and she said that the comments would roast me if I didn't use a roller. So I guess roast away. I tend to use brushes when I paint for the same reason that I tend to do hand sewing over machine. And the reason is I just like it better. I get more enjoyment out of it. I think you have a lot more control with a brush. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I may go over some of the bigger bits with a roller later if I think necessary, but if I don't, then I won't. I'm gonna start with the walls. I'm gonna try and get this patch of ceiling done as well today. Doing the ceiling is undoubtedly the worst part of doing painting. So I'm gonna start with something fun, which is to cover up the ugly stain above the mantelpiece. Also, the fun of painting woodwork and walls with the same paint is that you don't have to worry too much about splatter. With the exception of my tiny yellow hallway, this is going to be the first room in this flat that has a wall colour that is all one colour except for white or off-white. I think it will just give this room a different vibe to the rest of my home. And like I was saying yesterday, I do think that this colour is going to feel like a cosy kind of hug on this space. And I reckon the key to pulling it off will be making sure that I've got a lot of really nice warm lighting in here. I think it's going to look lovely. Chimney breast is painted and I'm pretty happy with it, with the exception of that weird rectangle that's off coloured. It is looking good. It's looking a little bit more brown on camera than it looks in person. I promise you it is pink. Because I'm leaving the stairs here white, I'm going to leave the skirting boards next to those white, and I also think I'll leave the door frame white as well. I did also have some serious consideration about leaving the other woodwork white. I was thinking maybe the skirting should be white because it leads onto the white floor. But I do think having all of everything on the walls, skirting included, in the pink will really help to emphasize the height of the walls and ceiling. So I will be painting them. Okay, I'm going to leave the mantelpiece to dry before I go in with a second coat on that. And now I think I'm going to move on to the inside of the cupboard because it makes sense to paint the inside before I paint the outside. And I know it's going to be a little bit of a ball ache because there's so many different surface areas when you're painting shelves. I could leave the inside of it white because you rarely see it anyway. However, since I've taken all of the effort to empty it out, I figure I might as well pinkify it. Look at this lovely pink cupboard. It took hours to do and I had to really contort myself into various uncomfortable positions to get underneath all of the shelves. But the first coat in there is done. The wood bits are going to need a second coat and I also need to do a second coat on all of this. And it's already 3:30. Progress is much slower than I had anticipated. I'm probably not going to get a huge amount more done today. I'm thinking it'll probably be more satisfying if I spend the rest of today going over what I have done so that these bits are all finished up, and that's probably going to take me a number more hours, especially because I've left a lot of the edges undone at the minute. I need to get my tiny little paintbrush to make sure that I do those neatly, and those bits are sure to take long. So I'm going to do this and then I'll be back in the morning and we can continue with these other two walls that I've cleared. The ceiling, I'm afraid, has not had a look in today, but alas. See you in the morning. Here is how we're looking now. Last night I finished all of the chimney, did a second coat on the mantelpiece and skirting, and finished off the inside of the cupboard. I also started slapping some paint on to that wall there because I felt like I needed to see a bit more progress than what I'd done. I was feeling a bit down on myself with the level that I had achieved. But looking at it now, I actually think I did an okay job, seeing as I was doing quite a lot of like intricate areas that were going going to take longer, the mantle, the cupboard, and we're still being kind to ourselves. I was sitting in here last night looking at it, and I really do love the colour, but I'm second guessing my plan now to paint the ceiling, because at the minute I haven't touched it. The paint just goes up to the top of the walls, and I kind of like how it looks. I think that it makes the walls look really tall, and then the ceiling feels lifted with it being white. I'm a bit worried that if I paint it in pink, it's gonna lower those back down visually. It also would be excellent news for my neck if I were to decide not to paint it, but I'm still up in the air on that. I think what I need to do today is more of the walls around up to the ceiling, and then have another look at what I'm thinking. I am low-key hoping that I decide not painting it is the right course of action, and let's carry on. Starting off today by finishing up this wall. This shouldn't take too long. Isn't it crazy how paint is just like liquid colour that you can spread over a surface and the colour stays there? I think too much about anything and it starts feeling weird. So that is kind of amazing to me. It was actually really nice in here last night. I had my lamp on and the pink walls were kind of glowing. Felt very warm in here, but also not too dark or oppressive. So I think that this colour was a good option. Though I am getting through this paint quite quickly. It's surprising to me how much the tin has gone down already. I think that if I decide to do the ceiling, I might actually not have enough paint, even though I bought 5 litres of it. This room is deceptively large. Okay, this wall is more or less done. While I was doing that, I kept looking at the ceiling and just thinking it would be nice to paint the ceiling, because to be honest, when I painted over the green with the white, I did 3 coats I think, and it needed really another coat. So it's always been a bit blotchy, and it would be nice if it wasn't blotchy, and it would be nice if it was pink. But I'm going to carry on with my plan, paint this wall in front of me, and then decide about the ceiling. Just did the first coat on the outside of that door, and it is streaky. Now onto this wall. And the weird thing about this wall is that the skirting board is here, but the wall actually comes out further than the skirting board. At some point, someone must have boarded over the actual wall. My guess is because the wall itself was crap, as are a lot of the ones in this flat. So it's kind of a bit weird that this hangs out further than the skirting. It's not something you ever really notice unless you're up close and personal with it, as I am now. And yeah, look at the state of this paint. Ooh, am I going to pour it on the floor if I do this? I've already used like over a quarter of it on just what I've done. And I am going to be annoyed if I need to buy another tin, because 5 litres of lick paint isn't particularly cheap. But then I also don't want to scrimp on paint and not go over bits that need going over, because then it's going to end up looking patchy and it's going to irritate me. Better to do things once and do them well. So we're just going to see how we get on with this. After painting some woodwork, painting the actual wall is much more satisfying, because you get the actual finish that you want just with one coat rather than needing to go over it. We go from this to this, and now I have to paint this pissing corner up here, which I remember well from the last time I painted this room. It is a fucking nightmare to do. It's really hard to reach back there. The tallest ladder is required for this job. Oh, I also did a second coat on this door. I'm doing things in quite a frenetic way, just seeing something that needs painting, slapping a bit of paint on it, seeing something else, slapping a bit of paint there. There does not need to be method to the madness. It's actually not as hard to reach as I remember. Maybe it's because last time I was using my short ladder. It also is coming to the point where I need to make some decisions on this ceiling. I'm currently leaning towards, yes, I am going to paint it. I just kind of want to see what it will look like painted. And also, now I've started this, if I'm going to paint it, I should do it now, because I've made all the effort to move all the furniture, etc. So I need to decide whether or not to commit on that. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. It's happening. I did consider just painting the inner bits of these squares, or just painting these outer bits, or doing a two-tone, but honestly I figured that was going to be way too much effort, because I would have to tape, or I would have to be really careful, and that's just not something that I'm willing to do while standing on this massive ladder. I think it will be stressful. So we're doing all one colour, and I only hope that it's going to be worth it. We shall see. Okay, thoughts. Do we love? Do we hate? Are we somewhat indifferent? You know what? I like it, and the vision was to do all one colour. So I'm going to commit and paint this ceiling, which I'm not thrilled about for my back and neck and general mental well-being, but I am excited to see what it will look like. At least this is a one coat kind of paint, because the other times I've painted this ceiling, it's been multiple coats for the colour. So I just have to do it once, and there's is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 23 squares. That can't be right. Yeah, there's 23 squares on this ceiling. So I just have to endure 23 squares worth of paint. And that's all right, innit? Okay, I'm gonna do a few more squares now and then I'll show you. I did the first row and I feel physically unwell. I remember why I hate painting this ceiling so much. It's fucking brutal. Also, I recounted all of the squares and turns out I'm wrong. There are 25 total. So that's 6 down, 19 more to go. It does make the room look darker, which is obvious because it's a darker colour than white. I think I've decided that what I want to do for the top of that cupboard there is get some sort of lamp or light fixture that sits up the top of it, maybe behind a painting or something, so that we can get a bit more glowy light from up in the corner of the room, because this colour looks lovely when it's hit by a nice warm light. I don't know if I have it in me to do any more of the ceiling today. I feel a bit dead and it's already 4 o'clock and I need to go out later. So I think I'm going to finish up by just going over some of the wood trim bits that need another go around, as well as the bottom of the skirting boards. So I'll do that and then I will come back to you in a few days time, hopefully somewhat refreshed, although I will have been at work in the meantime and that's not particularly refreshing. But I'll be ready, I think, to tackle a little bit more of this room. Okay, I'm a liar and apparently also a glutton for punishment. I quickly did 4 more of the ceiling squares and now I actually am going for the day. A new day began with even more painting on my horizon. It had occurred to me that after painting this side of the room, it was now kind of looking like a stage, which was a fun start to the day, but there wasn't too much time to indulge in terrible choreography before I had to get down to business. I started off by hoovering out the bottom of the cupboard to get rid of any debris, and then I primed the bare floorboards in there ready for some paint. Next, I turned my attention to the tiled fireplace hearth, which was looking pretty crappy around the edges from my past half-assed efforts of painting the floor, and I'd remembered that I had some of this wooden trim left over from my downstairs hallway, which wasn't going to be quite enough to go around all 3 edges of the hearth, but it was going to be enough to go around 2 edges, and that is better than none. So I chopped it down to size and gave it a prime. While that was drying, I sanded and painted this weird wooden thing that slots over the pipes on the wall. This is going to end up being hidden by that big mirror in the end, so nobody else would have ever known if I hadn't painted it, but I would have known, so it needed to be done. Back to the fireplace trim, I slammed some nails straight through it and into the floorboards, and I only smacked my finger with the hammer once, so sadly I did not catch that moment on camera. Then I caulked around the edges for a marginally better looking finish. After that, I had to do another round of shifting furniture about, and working on this room is giving me serious nostalgia for the days of DIYing in here when I had nothing of anything in this whole flat, because it's considerably more irritating to decorate when you have to constantly work around things. I'm getting really conscious that this is kind of a long nothingy video where all I'm really doing is painting this room one colour, but the reality is that this whole thing is taking me a long time to get done and I only have 1 pair of hands. Sometimes I can't help but compare myself to some of the bigger design channels here on YouTube where they seem to be able to get an entire room made over in 1 day, and I think, why can't I do that? And then I remember that this kind of thing is exactly why I'm only 1 person and I have to keep moving my pissing furniture about. With the window area now accessible, I climbed up my ladder and finally pulled down this old curtain track, and a fun thing happened while I was unscrewing all of the fixings. I found this old razor blade balanced on the very top of the window frame, and this is probably the 10th or so of these that I found since moving into this flat, all of which have been positioned above windows and doorways, and I don't really know why, but it does seem a little bit dodgy. I'd thought after 6 years of living here that I'd probably found them all, but apparently not. After safely disposing of that, I grabbed my wood filler and filled in all of the holes at the top of the window frame. And then I could get my pink paint back out and slap some more of that over various walls and skirting boards and trims and cover more of the ceiling until we were looking like this. That's enough for today. Okay, I'm back, and some things have happened off camera since the last time we spoke that I want to quickly catch you up on. I repainted the flooring over on this side of the room and also over by the window to give it a little freshen up. You can quite easily see the line between the new painted floor and the old grubby floor, and I hope you'll agree that where we've got the fresh paint, it is looking a lot nicer, although it will undoubtedly start to look grubby again in the not too distant future, as is the nature of white flooring. I painted the fireplace hearth trim, including the stony bit on the side that I didn't attach the new wooden trim to, and I think it looks pretty decent, or at least a bit better than it did before. I also finally painted the floor on the inside of the cupboard, so it now matches the rest of the floor too, and so this side of the room is now more or less done. One thing I decided after a lot of confusedly staring at it is that I want to keep the window frame white, and this is for a few reasons. Firstly, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to use this pink paint on the actual UPVC part of the window, so at least part of it was going to have to stay white anyway, and I think having the whole of the trim looking white actually looks better than if the outside trim was pink. The radiator is also going to be staying white, or at least it is for the time being, because I really can't be asked to try and colour match this pink paint in a radiator paint and then end up with a load of excess pink paint. And I really don't mind how it looks with both the radiator and the window being white. I think it looks okay. And I also think that having the window surround white helps to bounce a little bit more natural light into the space, which it does need. It ties back into the white flooring and the door frame over here, which I decided not to paint. So it all works together, and hopefully that's enough reasons now. I did sand down the filler that I put in the holes at the top of the frame, and I gave the whole thing a fresh lick of some white gloss paint, so that is also done. And now we can move our attentions onto the final corner of this room, which is as yet untouched. And it is of course the corner with all of my excess furniture shoved into it, so let's move that all now. Done! All of my junk is now over here. This corner is of course also the area that I previously painted a big dark purple square on, and I have considered keeping this in this makeover only because I didn't do this that long ago. I think I painted this space just a bit over a year ago, and I don't like to redo things too quickly just because it feels a bit wasteful. However, I just don't think that this is going to work with the pink, and the real reason that I did this originally was because this is where my TV was, and the dark colour was done to disguise the TV. However, in my current plans, I no longer want the TV to be there anymore. So the dark purple is now somewhat redundant. So I am going to be painting over it, and that is going to be a little bit of a pain because it's obviously a very dark colour that's going to need multiple coats to go over it, and the pink I have left over is now incredibly precious to me because I am praying that I can finish this room with just what's left in that one tin, even though it doesn't feel that likely. So what I'm going to do is paint over this with a couple of coats of white before I go over it with the pink. And at this point, all of this moving things around and sanding and painting has gotten very old to me, and I'm sure to you too. I know that this video has been a little bit samey. I am now just itching to move on to the next video in this series where I'm going to start doing some of the fun projects around this room, but at least one of the pros of spending a couple of weeks painting has been that it's given me a lot of spare brain space to think and plan out what I might like to do in here, so my ideas have progressed somewhat. So while I finish this corner up, why don't we go over my current plans for the layout of this room and also discuss a little Pinterest board that I put together to show off the general vibe for this space. So here is a rough floor plan of the space with the layout as it was before I started this makeover. And firstly, we can just remove all of the things that we know are not going back into this room, so it looks like this. I've had this living room in so many different configurations since moving in here. It's looked like this, it's looked like this, it's looked like this, and there have been pros and cons for each one of these layouts. I've always known that the furniture that I have in that room isn't really ideal for the shape of the space itself. I always thought that a corner or L-shaped sofa would actually fit in there better than the sofa and armchair that I have. However, with the exception of hopefully a new rug, I really don't want to be making any big purchases for for this room, so we're working with what we've got. One of the things that bugged me about my most recent layout was that the TV was opposite the window with the sofa sat facing it. And with the sofa there, it really blocked off the window quite a bit. You never got a full view of that wall. And the window is one of the nicer features in the room, so it's kind of a shame. And I'd like to try and open up the space slightly so that the window is more accessible and so that you get a full floor to ceiling view to maximize the light and also show off the curtains that I'm planning to make in a future video. I've always been quite anti having the sofa pushed up against the wall. I think I read an article in some design thing a while ago that said you shouldn't have all your big furniture against the wall, and I took that a little bit too much to heart. However, the sofa being the biggest piece of furniture in this space, if it is central to the room, it's always going to end up blocking off quite a large area, and I'm not sure that that works very well. So I want to try something new that I haven't done before, and that is to put the sofa here on the wall next to the window. I had the sofa like this while I was moving things around to paint, and sitting there in the evenings, I actually really enjoyed the vantage point from here. You could see the full window obviously, and also the nice fireplace and both exits of the room. It just felt a little bit more open and interesting than staring into that one kind of limited corner. Also, having the sofa here leaves a nice bit of space in the curve of that bay window where I think my round footstool will fit quite nicely. My paper mache sideboard lamp combo thing will stay where it is since I did design it specifically for this space, but I'm wondering if I can adapt my purple paper mache thing that I made into some kind of freestanding TV unit that will sit here and kind of flow into the sideboard, and then that will allow me to have my TV here. I've had the TV obviously on the top of that mid-century sideboard for quite some time, and I have found that when it's on there it is a little bit too high for the level that you're at when you're sat on the sofa, because I have kind of a low sofa. So I'm thinking the one that I need to make will be a shorter TV unit, if I can make that work. I'm not sure if I can make that work, but we'll see. The armchair would go somewhere here or here, depending on where it feels less cramped. I never sit on this chair when I'm watching TV because, like I said, it's a bit uncomfortable. It only gets used when there's people over and we're all sat facing each other chatting, so it doesn't matter whether or not that has a good view of the TV. And that does give me a larger furniture item central to the room, so I'm not completely dismissing that random magazine article that I read. I want to keep my mid-century sideboard over in the corner where it has been because it is quite a bulky piece of furniture and I'm not sure that it would work anywhere else. Then I can pop one of my round stacking tables to the left of the sofa and pop a lamp on it, and keep the other two of the stacking tables kind of free flowing to be moved around for drinks or remotes or whatever's needed in front of the sofa. One downside of this plan is that it doesn't leave room for my wooden rectangular coffee table, so if I go ahead with this I do think I might have to donate that, which is a little bit sad. And then the rest of the layout will stay mostly the same, with the big mirror over on this wall and my two bookcases here and here. The only change that I do want to make is that I want to swap those two bookcases over so that the one with the dollhouse is over opposite the mirror, because this will be in better view of things and I think it's a little bit more fun to look at. And also there is a plug socket over in that corner of the room which I can use to plug the lamp in that is inside of the dollhouse. And yeah, these are my current thoughts on the layout. Of course this could all change as I start physically moving things around. I know what I'm like, but we shall see. And now I'll quickly go over my Pinterest board with you. You'll see on this that we've got plenty of colour going on, but it's all in slightly muted tones, like everything has been mixed with a little bit of mud and water. I'm imagining a mix of faded 1980s and 1930s florals, lots of wood, patchwork, and lots of nice warm lighting. I suppose the whole thing together is quite busy and eclectic, but I've always thought that this space had a kind of chaotic grandma energy to it I really want to lean into, with plenty of textiles and soft furnishings and homemade pieces to make it feel cozy, comfortable, and really lived in. I think my aesthetic overall for my home and for myself is kind of a raggedy DIY look that doesn't place too much emphasis on perfection, and that's really what we're going for again in this room. So despite the fact that this is going to be the only space in my home that's all painted pink, I do think that it's going to fit right in with everything else. And that is that. Hopefully by now I've finished up all of that bloody painting. So let's check back in with me to see where we're up to and attempt to wrap things up into a nice little bow to end this episode of this makeover. It's actually half a week later since I filmed those last clips of me painting, because I did indeed run out of the pink paint, which I kind of knew was going to happen, though that didn't stop me from remaining hopeful right down to the last drop. As it turns out, 5 litres of paint left me with this much unpainted, so I had to order another smaller tin to finish the job, and I ordered that for next day delivery, but then the delivery was delayed, so it didn't come until late yesterday afternoon. So I finished this all up last night, and I have actually just noticed that some of what I did is a tiny bit patchy because I did it by lamplight, so I'm going to fix that up off camera after all of this is filmed. But for now, let's just celebrate that the painting is mostly done. All of the walls and ceiling and most of the woodwork are now pink, and the whole floor has had a fresh lick of the white paint too. Just don't look at the door. I haven't painted this as of right now because I'm thinking that maybe I want to do a different colour on it, perhaps with some extra decorative details, so I haven't decided exactly what I would like that to look like yet. We are still allowing plans to evolve over time with this makeover, so for now I've left it and we will figure that out in a future video. Despite the fact that painting this room took me what felt like a lifetime, I am so happy that I went for it. I really love this colour, and I'm also very glad that I did end up painting the ceiling too. I don't think that the room would have felt finished if I hadn't done that, and it does give the space that warm, cocoony feeling that I was hoping for. So ultimately, it was worth the neck pain. I was imagining that by the end of this video, I would be moving my furniture kind of into place and bringing a load of stuff back into this room, since all of that is currently littered around multiple rooms in my flat and is getting in the way and driving me crazy. But I am not going to be doing that in this video because I have ordered myself a new rug, or at least a new second-hand rug from eBay, which should be arriving sometime next week, and I don't know that it makes sense to move all the furniture until I can put the rug down first, and I also don't want to delay putting this video up anymore because we're already a week behind schedule, so I'll be doing all of that at the start of the next video. I think I'm going to be spacing out this makeover over more videos than I'd normally do. Obviously it's taken me a long time to paint this space because of the size of the room and the quantity of shit that I've had in here, but also the projects that I want to do for this room are each quite time consuming in their own right, and I'd like to go into a good amount of detail on each of them. I've not actually decided yet which project I'm going to be tackling first, but coming up on this channel we will be making curtains, upcycling a lampshade, making a TV unit, making a sofa cover, making some art to go up on the walls, and also maybe painting some smaller decorative murals or something onto the walls themselves as well. So if you'd like to see any of that, please do stick around. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider doing so, and leave me a comment to let me know any ideas of things that you think might look good in this space. At the minute, it's all for the taking, and until then, stay safe. I will see you soonish. Goodbye.